They say to truly understand someone, you must walk a mile in their shoes. Well, at Lexus, we designed the ES with you in mind every step of the way. From class-leading legroom to positioning the touchscreen 4 inches closer. Everything in the Lexus ES, a direct reflection of you. Click the banner to discover more. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
2022 ES versus 2021-2022 competitors. Information from manufacturers' websites as of 5/3/2021.
Hi there, I am Adam Kirbas, and this is another episode of my podcast. We are here in Ordu in Turkey. This is a town in the Black Sea region in northern part of Turkey. It is August, a sunny day, and we are still in the pandemic. I hope that you all are doing fine. However, we will continue where we left off yesterday. So, and this was we left with. We are talking in general. Let me recapitulate. We are talking in general why you watch. Not only why, but as well as which characters on TV shows have appeal to you and why. So we were still there, and in the end of the last episode we talked about Grey's Anatomy, and especially those 3 main characters in the TV show. This was to repeat Dr. Weber, who is the chief, then Burke, who is then later cancelled due to some behavior of the actor. However, he plays a crucial role, so Dr. Burke, and then Dr. Bailey. And these 3 black Afro-American American characters in the scene or in the TV show have a crucial point and have a lot of appeal among migrant communities. So this is not only confined to Afro-Americans. I talked about some other TV show in the German sphere, Turkish für Anfänger, but it would not be appropriate to talk about it because it is not likely that people in the English sphere, especially generally outside of Germany or Austria, this TV show is not very known. It is not even quite known within Austria or Germany for that matter. However, but for our purposes, Grey's Anatomy is enough. And then again, so we talked the last time about why, for example, Dr. Weber is some sort of maybe appealing to some Afro-American and some migrants. Obviously there is a gap within the society. Obviously there is something in North America, because this show is targeted on the English sphere. So you want to target a special group, special people, and then why, or to put it bluntly, it is Afro-American. They are not in or not likely in a leading position. So many companies, as well as many areas in public, this is not are not led by Afro-Americans. Also, you only see this in college graduates, and so these are facts, these are statistics. So, however, and I talked a little bit about it, and today we will partially continue, and this is, I talked about culturalism. Of course, you some sort of in your counter culture believe that you are better than this mainstream culture. Only think about body positive counter culture. We talked a little bit about it, and this means that you are not partially it always swings with it, that you are not shallow like those models, that you have inner values, and that you are so this girl next door, and so on, down to earth and more human, and so on and so on. So this is more positive attribute, and as well as if you so this is part of the counter culture. You some sort of make it more positive, and with migrants, I mean, you are excluded in a way from society, and we talked a little bit about it. I mean, if you are being considered as some sort of a reliability to the society, of course, then you think otherwise of it. I mean, and in that sense, you then assume, yeah, once one black guy or black woman would take charge, would take power, we would do a good job, and so on. And it is as this approach is very common among poor people as well. Imagine, I mean, the divergence or the difference between city dwellers and land dwellers. So people who grew up in the city, everyone always assumes, or at least this was the case in rural Austria, everyone always assumes that those people who grew up in the city, they are somehow sort of they don't know what life is. They are partially debauched and so on. So this is a common prejudice. This is as well as you will find these things in Game of Thrones as well. I mean, the North, these people are down to earth and so on, and then all those people who live in King's Landing, they are all debauched and so on. So there is this some sort of prejudice, and this goes as far as wits as well. So imagine if you're poor and so on, then you think, yeah, those people on top, yeah, they have privileges or whatsoever, but once we get the chance, then we would do a better job, or if you assume this is very common among migrants as well. I mean, once we are underprivileged, so once we get equal opportunities with all others, then we would accomplish anything and so on, more and so on. So, and this is some sort of, in a way, it is epitomized in Dr. Weber in Grey's Anatomy. So this black man, very capable black man who is in charge and who does a good job, because before he has some issues. I mean, this makes him human again. This is those issues, those failures, they make someone human, and then other people try to be the boss, but no one can really do it as good as him. So this is why this trope or this character arc may have so much appeal on viewers, and so it is not that just if you are an Afro-American or if you are a migrant, you don't just want to see someone on top or something. I mean, this is what we talked a little bit as well in culturalism or in gender culturalism. This is as well as that. It is of course that you some sort of have other values, that you have more moral values, or that you partially try to confine yourself to a moral high ground and so on, but nevertheless you want to be in charge, or not only be in charge, but you assume that you would do a good job when you would be in charge, but you are kept from doing a good job because of society and so on. And this is what you see then with Miranda Bailey in this character arc of Miranda Bailey shows. She's actually doing a good job. She's some sort of taking care of all the interns, but she did not get the chance in the first round to become a superior. So she was in a way disadvantaged. And then in the show, you then see that she really lives up to that she can really accomplish this. So this is again some sort of a migrant trope, if you want, some sort of a migrant character arc, because in real society, if you're African American, or if you're a Middle Eastern man Middle Eastern man, woman in continental Europe, you suffer partially from exclusions. You don't get those promotions you think you deserve. So be very careful. There are lots of these things always have to do with your notion. What do you think is good for you? What do you believe is actually very important, however, but this speaks to many migrants as well as to many African Americans. So even though we are not really part of it, but yet behind the scenes, we are some sort of pulling the strings. We keep everything together, and it's some sort of depends on us. Or that we, despite the fact that we are never acknowledged. This is again a trope in this character arc of Grey's Anatomy. So there's a trope, so we are not really acknowledged. Someone else takes all the credits. People hate us because we are very diligent. So this always swings with it. So people are diligent. They are successful in that sense, but yet they don't really. And then in this trope, you can see more and more that she lives up to that she becomes this great surgeon who is a great inspiring mentor and so on. So then part of this group, this is very important, and because as a migrant and as well as an Afro-American in general, of course you are some sort of excluded. Of course you are some sort of creator counter culture. Nevertheless, you want to be part of this mainstream culture. Who wouldn't? Because this mainstream culture is as well as being accepted as different, being accepted as foreigners. So if we remember about these genders we talked about, then of course one thing why these counter cultures and subcultures, why they all develop and are being some sort of created, is because you are some sort of excluded, or in a way you don't think or that you are being represented in a culture, so that you create or be part of a small niche, and then there your values in a way are transformed. So everything that's been considered as negative in this culture, for what reason whatsoever, I said many. I gave an example of Turkish migrants, so that they are some sort of being considered in Germany and in Austria as backward, as some sort of negative, that they do not integrate into society and so on. And then this is then being transformed into a positive aspects. Now migrants, especially Turkish migrants, they are family bound, they are pious, religious, adamant that fast and so on. And of course, and then in the very extension, they are more man and so on, more they are on a moral high ground. I mean, just to recall what we talked about it in that sense, however, and this is some sort of, you can see in Grey's Anatomy as well. Today I want to talk a little more about female characters, because I mean, of course, you have to be aware. I mean, this is all what I'm talking about, what I'm narrating here about is all from a perspective of a heterosexual man. So this is the perspective of a straight man. So, but however, this does not mean that we cannot talk about very important issues as well. And I want to talk a little bit about Friends as well as in Sex and the Cities. But before I do this, I of course do research. I of course do not just come up with all my ideas out of nothing. I watch some YouTube videos as well. For example, I watch or have watched some episodes of the YouTube channel. They take very interesting. So and some of my thoughts here are actually inspired by this YouTube channel. So I can definitely recommend watching their take on YouTube and other very interesting YouTube channels. So you can learn a lot about from YouTube. What I want to talk a bit about Sex and the City, and I will try to understand again why I think and assume why some of those characters at Sex and the City may have more appeal, or why we strive for it and why not, and so on. I don't want to go into details about the difference of the 90s. Of course, the 90s were different, and we talked about it a great deal because of the change of the internet and so on. Yeah, whatever. However, but some things always stay the same. So in that sense, I don't want to pretty much differentiate too much between our time and the past and so on. But I assume that those who listen or have seen Sex and the City, that you are familiar with the characters. Again, I watched some episode of Sex and the Cities. I do admit I did not watch the entire series. I think I watched the first 3 seasons. Yeah, it is probably not enough, but it is, I think, sufficient to make some analysis on this background. And what I want to start with, the first woman, in a way, that always strikes out in Sex and the City is the first woman who always strikes out in Sex and the City is, of course, Samantha. Samantha, in that sense, I give a small summary. Samantha is this woman who is driven by some sort of sexual desire. She doesn't want to commit to a relationship. She want to some sort of, if you want, shop around, have a lot of sexual partners, and this is in a way represented in a way in the series as well. And this is rather manly. If you only watch the Sex and the City, the desire Samantha some sort of represents or some sort of puts out there is actually a male desire. This is what you see in a way. And so you have all this prejudice. This is what you mostly have about man. This is some women think that men think almost every, 3 or 4 minutes about sex. Well, I don't know about that, and I have not asked a man, but some say that, think there's, admittingly in puberty, yes, assumably you think a lot about sex, but the older you get, well, if you think every time about sex, then something is not right with you. However, but in Samantha, in Sex and the City, you really see this perspective from a male desire, having a lot of sexual partners, to not do not commit and talk about sex, some sort of in a way up, being shallow and so on. So this is not the slut, or if you want, this is if you want some sort of way the slut, she's the slut and so, but this is always some sort of how women view men. This is mostly about it. And then if you then consider, why would the normal woman some sort of desire Samantha? So this normal average woman, because Samantha was in the beginning of the show very desirable. So why would anyone desire her, be like her, and so on? And the answer to them partially is because she represents a male desire, because Samantha in a way tears down this border between man and woman, this is what every woman in a way knows, that if you are for example, if you're a man, you can pretty much whore around, you have a lot of sexual partners, and this would be approved, this has been considered as manly, whereas if you are a woman and you have a lot of sexual partners, this is rather being considered as very negative, debauched, shallow, and so on. But in a way, in a society where women, some sort of in a way, are confined in those areas, so where women always have to be this nice girl, where women always have to be this good girl, and so on. So this is the character for actually of Amy Elliott. Now I've forgotten the movie, but there's one movie with Rosamund Pike with Amy Elliott Dunbar, where she plays the character, where she some sort of reflects on what it's been like to be a nice girl. I have forgotten the title of the movie. This was with Ben Affleck, where she fakes her own death and incriminates her husband. However, you always see this barrier in a way that women cannot have what men have, and then this barrier then becomes in a way desirable. So what if you could just be like a man, just don't care about etiquette, don't care about protocol, and be like man, whore around like man. And this is what Samantha partially represents. So this tempting desire to be a man, this is what we talked about in which is in gender as well, in female gender, this within the feminist approaches that women in a way become more and more masculine. This is partially in appearance. So you have short hair. Of course, this does not mean that short hair mean feminine and so on, but or are in a way masculine or whatever. But in a way, it is associated with manliness, or having a rugged face and so on, or wearing manly clothes, have manners and bearing like men. And these are all developments you see some sort of in some feminist developments. And this is partially some sort of aspiration, because man, despite the fact men are hated, because women fully claim that they have a lot of privileges because of their sex. However, because hate does not prevent that this manliness, this masculine bearings is being taken over from, because of course everything that's been dominant, everything that's been considered in public, everything that's been considered as taking up space, of course this has been associated with man, because this is some sort of historically grown it has a history, it has a genealogy, because women were rather confined into their homes and so on, and men were some sort of roaming the streets, if you want. They took more space in the streets, and this is of course the reason why men always grew up in a way over generations with taking up space, more space in public, and this is then despite equality, despite emancipation and so on, this is still a big issue in society and so on. So however, in order to come back to our discussion, so you see with Samantha in Sex and the City is this desire of women to be like men, to some sort of give a fuck about social convention, just don't care what people say about you, what people think about you. And this is what you see with Samantha as well. I mean, she has a very positive view to her sexuality, despite the fact that she gets cancer. So this is some sort of a bad omen in the society or in the TV show later on. However, but you see that she has a very positive view on her sexuality, and this is partially, you could say, a desire of women then as well, just to give a fuck some if you want, and just live out their sexuality, just be proud of your sexuality. This is still a desire to be some sort of manly and desiring, have a driven lust, do not settle down and so on, because if you only see, and there are as well as many references in the TV show that Samantha's desire is rather a manly desire. It is rather some sort of thrill, excitement, and you have a lot of men or that you have a lot of sexual partners, and these sexual partners are in a way some sort of a trophy for you, but then it is partially shallow, whatever. But in a way, this is some sort of, you say this is manly desire. This is something you can as well as see if in some marvelous in some Marvel comics and so on. So this desire to fall out of the convention, or this desire to not follow the path what everyone wants you to be, and just to stray to astray and so on. For example, in Spider-Man, his Venom, this was with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, 3, where he becomes more and more evil, where you some sort of see that that he wants to get away from this convention, to just do something for himself, be egoistic and so on, or only about or just don't not care of what other people say. And we talked about this as well as, if you live as a woman still in our society, there are a lot of conventions you have to follow. So despite the fact that you grew up or despite the fact that you live in Europe, in North America, whatsoever, of course you are not punished, or hopefully that you are not punished in an industrialized country physically, however, but you are still some sort of morally punished and chided if you stray from this perfect plan of a woman who always some sort of is obedient, has a loving husband, is a very blissful and content housewife and so on. So this is ideal role model, this is ideal view, but still persists in our day, still in the industrialized country. And then of course then you have these etiquettes, if you want, these social etiquettes. They put a lot of pressure on you. This is partially sociological, partially psychological. However, we won't go into detail, but they put a lot of pressure in you, and then because of this pressure, you then some sort of desire just to break free, or just be like a man. Because if you're a woman, you of course feel it as unfair that you have to follow social conventions, that you have to follow some protocols, whereas it appears that men can do whatever they want. They can have a lot of sexual partners. They can, if you want, whore around publicly, and they get a lot of appreciation. Whereas when women do this, they have been chided, degraded, and demeaned as sluts and so on. And then you want to some sort of take over this male privilege, that you want to break out of this of your boundaries and so on. So this is why Miranda has, in a way, a desire, or may have a desire for many, for some women, in a way. Of course, this is a desire which is rather periodical, because of a lot of changes in your life. I mean, especially in your youth. So you in your youth, again, assumably it's the same with man and woman. But in man, if you're a man in your youth, I talked about it quite a while. This is then you want to have, of course, a lot of sexual intercourse with women, or want to get to know a lot of women, but then when you become later, then you some sort of see the world a little bit different, and so on. And with women, it is the same, I would say, as well. Then the second very interesting partner in Sex and the City is, of course, Miranda, this if you want, this emancipated woman. I will give a small. Pardon me. I will give a small summary of this character type, and this is that Miranda is if you want, this you would rather say this feminist, independent woman. So she's more about herself. She's more conscious about herself, in that sense that she does not need men to define herself. So she lives her life. She's successful, and she doesn't some sort of fit, in a way, those normal, typical female gender roles. So she doesn't want to talk about men as well. So this is some sort of this emancipated, very successful woman who is more conscious about female issues. And if you wonder why would this be very attractive, or why would this character arc be appealing to some people, of course we have to be remind us in a way of what we talked about, female genders. So if you want to be successful in a society, especially in a male society, then of course you have to adapt to some male behavior. This starts in the office, this goes on and on. So if you want to accomplish anything at all, so you adapt to some degree. You become masculine. You go along some patterns, and in a way you have to be this good buddy to your male colleagues and so on. So from this point of view, you become successful, and in the same way you some sort of lose some of your femininity. So you sacrifice for your success parts of your femininity, especially when it comes to defining your sexual drive, your sexual will as well. Because you could say, yeah, why isn't Miranda so self-assured like Samantha? Why isn't she that that she would say, yeah, who cares? I use man like a tool. This is self-emancipation as well. So she could as well as say, yeah, I don't need man. I am not emotionally dependent on man, but yet I use them for my own pleasure. So why doesn't she do that? Well, Miranda, in that sense, she, like I said, represents this successful female who is successful in a very in a male domain. It is law, and in law, it's the way how you dress. Law is about or it's about fact. It is straightforward. So Miranda is a good lawyer. So it is in a way this male world which has not really appealing. So you cannot, if you want, be creative. You do not work in an art gallery like Charlotte, or you cannot express yourself in your thoughts with like Carrie, who writes this sex column. No, law is rather you follow the rules, and this is some sort of in a way epitomized in that sense that you take over some sort of a male bearings, male appeal, male dresses. As a lawyer, I mean, you are wearing a suit. You do not dress appealing and sexy, and this, of course, comes with a lot of insecurity as well, as because you sacrifice your femininity, you sacrifice your female drive in order to be more amicable, in order to be more accepted in this male domain. And everyone, of course, will say, no, this is not the case, because if we watch Miranda, she's this very adamant woman who knows what she wants, and this is independence and so on. Of course, she's very strong, headstrong. She knows what she wants, but we have to be aware of one thing as well, and this is that the more you lean towards adapting to male behavior, the less you some sort of are more sexually, or have more sexual the more you feel then sexually sophisticated you have, or have a positive feeling to your sexual drive. This is what you see with in Miranda as well, as because her boyfriend Steve, he's actually a bar keeper who earns less than her. So if you want, she's in this relationship, she's the man, she's the dominant force. So she in a way has transformed this role model, and Steve, her boyfriend, he's some sort of underneath her. He's weak, he's dependent on her because she's wealthy, she's a lawyer. And then later in the TV show, Steve even becomes or gets cancer in his I think in his balls, so in his hoden. So he has issues with erection, or it is about his manhood. So he gets cancer in a way, and this again is some sort of this proves that Steve is some sort of in a way castrated. He's in a way some sort of underneath Miranda, and Miranda is some sort of in a way the real man in this arc. This is what you can pretty much perceive, and this speaks of course, to many women, not that they want to castrate men or in a way subordinate men. No, this is rather if you feel an insecurity with your sexuality because you have to, in a way, adapt to a male society. If you feel insecurity with being a woman, and I don't mean just asserting yourself. There is a difference between asserting yourself, what you want, or, for example, that you assert yourself as being independent, that no one should interfere with your life, and that you have a very assertive understanding of your female body, of your womanhood, of your desires and pleasures. So, and this is what you can pretty much perceive in the show, that Miranda has not this real assertive female sexual desire like Samantha it has. Also, she feels some sort of, and this is why Miranda some sort of speaks to many women, if you want, in our age, because they more and more became masculine, and then their sexual drive, their self assurance as a woman suffers from it, and then they do not feel more woman enough. They some sort of feel uncomfortable in a way with very dominant man, because it is assumed a very dominant or highly testosterone loaded man, some sort of would desire a very feminine woman. Feminine not in that sense that that the woman subordinates herself to the man, no, feminine in the sense that she has a positive view, like Samantha, on her sexual drive. And this, of course, leads to fear, especially in our age. I mean, women become more and more masculine. Women more and more struggle to be feminine, and as well as this has been considered as negative as well. And then a man, a dominant man, becomes more and more a threat, and it is then easier for you to assert your femininity, your womanhood, if you have a partner who is maybe not as assertive than you, like you are, who is not as successful than you, so that you in a way control him, because Steve is in a way dependent from Miranda. Miranda has more money, Miranda has more control over him, and this gives her in a way more assurance, more self-sophistication. This makes her feel better. This is why this may be appealing to many women in our age, because not that they were, again, not because they want to castrate man or in a way subordinate man. No, it is rather that in our society, especially in this is again some sort of a contradiction. Women are in a way over sexualized, but yet this is some sort of a shallow construct, because yet it leaves the big question open. I mean, what is sexuality? What is intimacy? And so on. And this leads to fear among many women, and then it is easier if you have some sort of a sexual partner, or if you have a boyfriend in that sense, who is dependent from you in that sense that he cannot leave you if you are not woman enough to him, and so on. If you have not this sexual drive like Samantha, if you want. I hope this was understandable. So this is then why the character arc of Miranda in Sex and the City may be appealing to many women. Again, this is not to deride feminism or not all. No, this is really about the fear if you grow up in a male society. So we are. Time is up for today. We will continue with this the next time. Don't worry, I will come up with a small summary in the beginning for tomorrow. So this was Adem Kirbas from Ordu in Turkey. We are in the pandemic. I hope that you all are doing fine. Bye.
Family. It looks a little different for everyone. For some, it's mom and dad. For others, roommates who feel like family. And for others, it's your significant other, their golfing buddies, your children, a high school soccer team starting lineup, and oh look, they're all taking you up on the offer to stay for dinner, really testing the limits of that phrase, the more the merrier. But no matter where you call home, Geico makes it easy to bundle and save on home and car insurance. Easier than making 3 frozen pizzas and assorted frozen veggies into a cohesive meal.